Hi everyone, Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing very well and you've all recovered from the festive period. I'm excited to be making my first video for the year and I hope it's a lovely reading to start the year with. I managed to make it to exactly 50 videos for 2024, so I was really pleased about that as well. Now, this is another timeless reading that's for somebody out there. As always, the intention is that it will find the person or people that it's meant for at the right time. Now, it's not intended to be for everyone, so if the storyline that emerges is not resonating with you, it's probably not for you. You can still watch the whole reading because it's always an intention of mine that anyone who is drawn into watching one of my videos will gain something from the reading, whether that's an insight, a piece of wisdom, or just the opportunity to see something from a different angle. So if you're here, I think you're meant to be here, and I hope you'll enjoy the video. All right, then we'll just quickly do our love pause before we start the reading. So the love pause is where we pause the video and we send love out into the universe. If you prefer, you can do this by doing a Ho'oponopono prayer instead. So that involves saying the 4 sentences, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. So thanks to everyone who does do this. So pause the video now and we'll start the reading on the next slide. All right, so here we are with the spread for this reading. If you're interested in these decks that I've used here, they will all be listed in the description box. Now, I've actually got 2 crystals here in this spread. I just felt like I wanted to share these with you because these were my Christmas presents. My oldest son was the actual secret Santa for me this year, and he's chosen these amazingly gorgeous crystals. But the other interesting thing is I've put them here with these cards and I can actually see the colors kind of working. So maybe they were the right crystals for this spread in terms of their message as well, but we'll see if that comes through later. But in terms of what these are, the one is a carnelian crystal ball, and it actually had quite a powerful energy. From one angle, it even looks like a dragon's eye to me, so I consider that one the powerful one here. The flower agate, on the other hand, is just so pretty and calming. Now, when I started, I really did want a colourful spread, so that's why I started with this flower oracle deck and allowed that to lead me through to the other cards. So I pulled my 3 oracle cards and it was pretty obvious to me which deck I had to go for the tarot. And so, yeah, we've got quite a colourful spread, which I love for a New Year's reading. All right, I'll get started with the reading. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the Ace of Swords, which is about truth, clarity, and illumination. That's a really powerful start. And with the Ace of Swords here, I can't help but feel that the message of this reading will be an important one. I do tend to associate the aces with cardinal energies for the elements that they're representing. So this would be a Libra energy because that's the cardinal air sign. Now, the card in the past position is the 5 of Wands, and the appearance on this card is of these women who look like they're practicing some dance moves. Now, the 5 of Wands card is a card of training and competing, and so this image would fit with that. But when I put these cards out, I was drawn to the card in the future position, which also has women holding wands, and that was the 6 of Wands card. Now, there were 4 women in the background holding their wands, and I was just basically flicking back and forth between these cards. And when I looked at the 5 of Wands card, I realized there were actually only 4 women in that card as well. And that seemed like too much of a coincidence. So what it looks like to me is that these 4 women who were training and competing are actually now in the background. They're forming what looks like a guard of honor for this woman who's riding past. And this woman is crowned and she's holding a wand. And that just made me see her as the Queen of Wands. And I'm also seeing that she wasn't there in that first card. So she wasn't training with this group. And I guess that makes me feel like maybe she was excluded from this group. Maybe she wasn't seen as good enough to train with them, or they simply just didn't like her. But the fact that the 4 women were training together actually makes me think that they had an advantage over this woman that ends up being victorious, because obviously as a group they would have been able to share their resources. The fact that they're practicing these choreographed moves makes me wonder if they sort of hired professionals to come in and train them as a group. And so there was that advantage because I could pull their resources. And I guess that would then mean this excluded person just had to do things on their own because they just didn't have access to the resources that that other group could afford. Now, the Six of Wands, as I've alluded to, is a card of victory. It's a card of success, recognition, rewards for success. So this person they weren't taking seriously at all, or they didn't want to help, actually ends up surpassing them all. And because they formed that guard of honor, they are fully aware that she's earned this crown and she's the winner in whatever this competition was about. So this is quite an interesting start already. Now, the Queen of Wands energy relates to fire sign energy, and I tend to associate it with Aries. Now, this is also, interestingly, the second reading in a row where I've just gone to the first and the last cards straight away, just because they seem to obviously connect with each other. And that is unusual because I normally would just go through the sequence of cards as they appear. So in both readings, this middle card is therefore a bridge that connects the past and the future. So take that as it sounds. It may be that the energy of, or it may be that the idea of something being a bridge resonates for someone out there, or it may be that these two readings are somehow connected, but I definitely don't normally go first and third card right at the start of the reading. So maybe it's relevant for someone. But anyway, the middle card here, this card that is bridging the past and the future, is the Knight of Pentacles, which is earth sign energy, and I would tend to read it as Virgo energy. And actually, I think, even thinking back to that last reading, it was a very different reading, but that middle card was also Virgo energy because it was the Page of Pentacles in that spread. So maybe some of you need to check that other reading out. I don't see an obvious connection, but maybe for someone out there is. But the Knight of Pentacles, getting back to this spread, is someone who works steadily to achieve something. It's a slow and steady kind of approach. And so it makes me think that this bridge between the past and the future is actually a bit of a long one. So this card is in the present, but I feel like this person that ends up winning has really had to put a lot of effort in over a really long time. They've spent a long time working on something without giving up. They've just been plodding away and they've just kept building on it. Just taking the next step and then the next step. And obviously, because they've been doing it alone, it sort of makes sense that it's been a slow process. And in my mind's eye, I just pictured someone who was sort of working on a big Lego project or completing a massive jigsaw puzzle. You know, there are so many people in the world who wouldn't even bother trying to do something like that on their own. But the Knight of Pentacles is that kind of person who can commit to a really big undertaking if it seems worthwhile to them. And they'll take it on and they'll just stick at it, working on it steadily until they get it done. So they really aren't someone who will see anything as an impossible undertaking, because I think the way they see things is that if they keep making progress, they will get there in the end. So they're completely okay with the fact that it might take them a long time. The Knight of Pentacles actually always reminds me of the tortoise and the hare and the tortoise story. So with what we're getting here, I'm going to say that this knight is very deserving of being the winner in the end, of being in that Six of Wands energy in the future. And the reason they're coming out as the winner is because they've just worked really hard and they haven't given up, even with the odds stacked against them. They've faced all the challenges and difficulties along the way, and they've just kept going and doing the best they can through all of those challenges. So I think we're talking about the kind of journey that most people would, you know, maybe attempt and then throw in the towel because it's just too hard and it's taking too long. So this Knight of Pentacles is a different kind of person. They would just keep going. So I'm actually finding that really inspiring as I talk about it. It is interesting that I got that Queen of Wands vibe because on the surface, those energies are so very different. The Queen of Wands is very different to the Knight of Pentacles. But maybe the reason that connection is here is that it's suggesting this long-term project is something that this person was actually quite passionate about. And in a way that makes sense. So that's why they could commit to it for so long without losing interest in what they were doing. They were actually doing what they loved. They loved the work they were doing. So even though it looked to others like it was this person just wasting their time and going nowhere, to them it was a labor of love. So that's really nice. Now, the first oracle card, which is the first card that came out for this spread, is chrysanthemum with the keywords longevity and endurance. And it's funny, I started talking about this and I actually remembered it's the birth flower for November. Now, I'm not someone who knows all the birth flowers, so I only know this fact because my sister was born in November. And when we were little, she had a My Little Pony. And it was one of those, it was a series, I think, of 12, so each one for a different month. And she had the November My Little Pony, and it was the chrysanthemum one. So I haven't actually thought of that My Little Pony in years. So it's cool that it's come up here. So I feel like November is important in this spread. Now, I actually have sons, so I have no idea if they still make those My Little Ponies, but I guess if you're of my vintage, you might remember them from when you were young. Now, the month of November, it could be a timing thing. So maybe that Six of Wands outcome is not going to happen till November, and that's still quite a while away, which supports the fact that this present energy is quite a long one. So this Knight of Pentacles is still working on their long-term goal. But yeah, so maybe November. But I guess November also could be, a month of birth for someone. And the signs that would relate to November would be Scorpio and Sagittarius. So maybe that's relevant for someone as well. But anyway, getting back to the keywords on this card, we have longevity and endurance, and those words do fit with the Knight of Pentacles energy that we've got in the present position. I'm also seeing the orange in this card, and it's sort of echoed again in the Five of Wands card below it. There's really no other orange in this spread, but the orange relates to the sacral chakra, which is about passion, inspiration, creativity, joy, pleasure, sexuality. So it's the sort of energy that brings things to life. So the fact that I've got the carnelian stone here is good because that is actually a stone that works for the sacral chakra. So it's perhaps boosting that energy, that Queen of Wands energy that's lying underneath the surface. And now that I look at that Five of Wands card, it actually looks like there's orange crystals at the base of that card. So I'm just looking at this card. There's actually a sunrise in this card as well. So I think that's meant to be a message that those women were training at the crack of dawn because they were so determined. But to me, a sunrise represents a new day. So it's the message of a new day dawning. And the sunrise is in the past card. So even though the person we're talking about was not showing up in that card, because this is their reading, I'm feeling like that sunrise is saying that this whole storyline is talking about a new phase in that person's life. So yeah, something kicked off there, and it's, in this prolonged middle phase now, but it's leading to a victory, which is really nice. Now, the next oracle card has the phrase, your soul shines. Now, this card features a pentagram, which is a symbol that represents the 5 elements being in harmony. And the 5 elements are the 4 earthly elements, earth, fire, air, and water. And the 5th element is the element of spirit. The card itself is purple, which relates to the crown chakra. And we actually see the top point of the pentagram is lit up, which is the point that would represent spirit in the pentagram. This is also a 34 card, and that reduces to 7, which is the number we associate with the divine. And it's also the number of the crown chakra, which is the 7th chakra. Now, the 34 number is also 3 and 4, so that to me makes me think of the Empress and the Emperor cards in tarot. So I'm also seeing harmony there between the divine and masculine and feminine polarity. So, a little bit of a yin-yang vibe there. And the pentagram itself, I should say, also reminds me of the Magician card, because the Magician card actually involves all 5 elements as well, because the magician has all the aces representing the 4 earthly elements. But then he's also, got his hands pointing as above, so below, which is saying that he's connecting to spirit as he creates what he creates down here. So that's why I do often make that connection between the pentagram and the magician. And I just looked at the spread again, and the pentacle that the knight is holding obviously has a pentagram on it as well. Now, there are, several messages here that are relating to balance and harmony and unity. And so that's also making me think of the World card in tarot. So it's funny, this is the simplest looking card in this spread, but there's so much coming through here. I feel like we're talking about a very spiritually enlightened person. And so even taking the card just literally, their soul shines, is the message. And really, with that crown chakra lit up, I'm just picturing it as someone who has an obvious aura that other people sense. Their light is bright. And the pentagram is obviously in the shape of a star as well. So this person is a star. And if we think about the star card in tarot, that's about healing and hope and optimism. So this person's energy actually has a really positive effect on people. It does, help them feel good and feel better. So that's pretty powerful. I just saw this sort of purple crystals at the bottom of the 6 of Wands card. So they're crown chakra stones as well. So we get purple coming through here as well. So it sounds like the crown and sacral chakras have been highlighted prominently in this reading. So those may be the chakras this person needs to focus on developing more. The last oracle card is titled The Temple of Mary, and I'm just seeing her face framed by this hexagon, which it's sort of starting, or the base of it, it's originating in her heart chakra. And within this hexagon, I'm seeing a downward pointing triangle. So that's meant to represent the divine feminine, which is what we'd expect with the Temple of Mary card. Now, I'm not that much of an expert on sacred geometry, but we've had the pentagram, we've got a hexagon, and the pentagram was actually framed by a pentagon. There's a lot of these shapes here, so if this is resonating for you, this reading, you may want to look into sacred geometry, because that's coming through fairly strongly here as well. In fact, that hexagonal shape is making me think of Metatron's cube, even though that's normally a much more elaborate illustration. There's a lot of lines drawn in, a lot of circles drawn in. But this is sort of a kind of a simplified, not simplified, but it's only highlighting really the divine feminine aspect there. But Metatron's cube is a powerful symbol in sacred geometry, and I think it's also to do with balance, harmony, and the interconnectedness of life. So maybe look into that one as well. The woman here also has an aura it actually, when you zoom in on the card, it looks a little bit crystalline in appearance, and the colors of that aura a bit similar to the flower agate, aren't they? So that's interesting. When I first got these crystals, I looked them up. Flower agate doesn't actually relate to the crown chakra, so I think it's heart and root chakras. But I guess we do have the hexagon, relating to the heart chakra, and that downward pointing triangle is actually pointing down to earth. So maybe this flower agate is relating to this card. So this might be about using your love as a force for good, which this person I think will be doing. But this root chakra coming through is about staying grounded while you're doing this. So you still make sure that you remain safe and stable and secure. So that's interesting. So it's a message that even if it is your purpose to bring love and light to the world, you still need to look after yourself and make that a priority. So that's a really lovely message. Now, the key phrases on this card are emotional expression, playful innocence, and exploitation. So, wow. So the first 2 phrases are talking about the kind of energy this person has. They are obviously emotionally expressive, and they may have a playful innocence about them. But that last word, exploitation, just fits exactly with what I was getting from the flower agate crystal. So this is about not allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. So you need to take really good care of yourself, because obviously if you're giving away all of yourself to others, you will end up depleted, because people will just take what you're giving them, and they will exploit that if they think that you're weak and easy to take advantage of. So it's important that you make sure that you take care of yourself and your needs first before you're offering anything to other people. And you also need to have strong boundaries that will mean that you're not being taken advantage of. I think from what I'm getting here, it's going to be important that you're protecting your energy and that you're doing things that are actually really nourishing to your soul as well. So there's a message here that really you should only be giving to others what you can afford to give. You should never allow others to drain you. And that applies to, anything that you have. It applies to your time, to your energy, to your love, to your money. And if you think people are draining you, then stop giving them access and start saying no to whatever they're asking you for or expecting from you. Because it may be your purpose to shine brightly, but you really can only do that if your energy is being continually replenished, and you have to take responsibility for that. And that's the point. So in order for you to serve your life purpose, you have to look after yourself. And I just got the goose that lays the golden eggs. I had that phrase pop into my head. So obviously the golden eggs are worth a lot, but the goose is priceless, because if it's well looked after, it will just keep laying those eggs for a really, really long time. But if, on the other hand, the goose is neglected, it's not fed, it's kept in poor conditions, it gets sick, or maybe the goose dies, that's the end of the golden eggs. They just stop right there, because it's game over for the goose. So in this reading, you're the goose basically. So take really good care of yourself so those golden eggs can keep showing up. And I'm almost done here, but I did see the numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7 in this spread, and that's about things moving in a stepwise direction. However, in this spread, there's no direction indicated. So the numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7 are here, but they're sort of scattered around this spread. But the numbers 4, 5, 6, 7 themselves are actually in the middle of the numerological sequence. So you've got 1, 2, 3 ahead of it. You've got 8, 9 on the other side of it. So it's in the middle. It's not the lower numbers. It's not the higher numbers. So again, there's the message of this person being in the present energy, in the middle. They're not at the end yet. So the process isn't complete yet. But I'm also getting something from the fact that there's no direction indicated with the numbers in this spread. And that's making me feel like, yes, you're in the middle, you're in the 4, 5, 6, 7 part. And if you keep choosing to make progress, yes, you're going to end up at 8 and 9, the higher numbers. And of course, that's going to lead to that victory in the future. But, if you picture a set of steps, if you're making choices to keep going up, you'll keep going up. But you could also start making different choices, and then you'd start going down the stairs. So there's that message here of you need to continue to choose to keep moving forward in the right direction. But really, that's life, isn't it? I mean, our future is always the result of the direction that we choose to move in. And that's where I'm going to stop the reading. I think we're done. And that's it, everyone. We're here on our last slide now. As I mentioned before, the decks I used today are listed in the description box. Some of these decks will have Amazon links next to them. You can use these links just to check the decks out, but these are affiliate links as well, which means that if you click on the link and then you purchase the deck, I could make a small commission for that deck purchase. So the link here should take you to the most appropriate Amazon site for your location. And from your perspective, the Amazon link really has no impact, because you will still pay just the standard Amazon price and you'll still have access to any shipping deals that you'd otherwise get. The link itself is actually only valid for 24 hours, is my understanding, unless you add the item to your cart. So if you're thinking of using the links, you can actually just add the item to your cart while you're considering the purchase. And then if you change your mind, you can just remove the item from your cart. And for those of you who do want to use the links, there is some extra information in the description box, so check that out as well. I've also updated all of my older videos so that the deck list is always in the description box for those videos as well. Now, if you're still watching, thank you so much for being here and for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel or liking the video or leaving a comment. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for your ongoing support. It really does help me with growing this channel. And that's it. Take care, everyone, and I hope I'll see you all again in a future video. Bye.